Hello, everybody. This is Mike here, and you're listening to the All Metal Mode podcast. And if you're joining us tonight, this is our very first Friday night. And Bill Marsh talked me into it forever. He's been saying, you need to do a Friday night show. Nobody else is doing them on Friday night. And some things came up that I will discuss with you here in a moment. And we will I'll explain what's going on and why I'm on Friday night right now, and we'll get to that here in just a minute. But before we do, excuse me, if you want the best American-made digging tools made with American steel and each one heat-treated individually by George Lesh himself, check out PredatorTools.com. Or give Pam, his wife, a call, 856-455-3790. I don't know what it is, but every time at the beginning of the show, words are fumbling out of my mouth like I just took a big shot, and I haven't tonight. All Metal Mode. Check out our articles, the forum. Please join the forum. If you're going to, I keep saying I joke and beg everybody to join the forum. I want people that are going to participate. If it's not your thing and you don't want to participate, don't join. It's no big deal. It's not that I care about the numbers and I want to see a bunch of people, bunch of names in there, but only a handful are participating. So if it's not your thing, it's just not your thing, and I'm okay with that. So next Friday night, we're going to actually have a celebrity on the podcast, and I'm really excited. And I'm going to be honest with you. I do not know him, although we've messaged back and forth some now, and just seems like a wonderful guy. I've really enjoyed our little bit back and forth. Very nice, very well-spoken, friendly, funny. Anyhow, it's going to be drew a blank there. David Canterbury. He's a survival expert who co-starred on the TV show Dual Survival for 2 seasons on the Discovery Channel. He's an author. I think he's had like 3 books. One of them at least made the New York Times bestseller list. Also was on another series called Dirty Rotten Survival, which was on National Geographic. And how that came about, my brother the other day, my brothers followed him on social media for quite a long time, and he said, hey, this guy, I really like him. He seems like a really nice guy, and he's been metal detecting a lot lately. And so he's like, you got to see about reaching out to him, and I did. And he got back with me really quick, very nice, funny, just seems like just a regular guy. And I'm really looking forward to it. Now, here's kind of the funny part. So, hold on one second here. I'm having issues. Hope everybody can hear me okay. Anyhow, okay, we should be good. Yeah, he's from Ohio, and I believe from around Hillsborough area, which isn't far from my brother. Anyhow, so what might actually go down is he's okay. Well, when I was telling Gypsy about it, Gypsy knew who he was. Matter of fact, I called her the other night, and she was actually in the middle of one of his videos while I called. Yeah, Bill said, other than your stuttering. Right, I'm a hot mess tonight. So I said, well, why don't you co-host it with me? And she's like, oh, I'd love to. That's awesome. So she's all excited. Well, then I was talking to Dennis today, and as you guys know, he's been filling in when somebody's out. We just got him hooked up to run the show and all that, and I think he's gonna host the show next Friday. For a couple reasons. I told him he could do it. I said, "Hey, you're a fan of his, and this and that." And I said, "Why don't you host the show?" And but not only that, when you've been with somebody long enough that you start giving each other a hard time. Next Friday is Steph's birthday, and she has given me such a hard time about, "Oh, you're going to Friday nights right before my birthday. Can't take off my birthday." Giving me a hard time joking, and so. I told Dennis, I said, "Buddy, if you want to do it, you do it." And so I think he's going to do it. But either way, we're going to have him on next week. Next Friday night. What a way to kick off this show. Okay, now, as far as Friday night, what we're doing right now, the ladies are going to stay on Monday night. Everything's good there, normal there. I think, at least for now, Dennis right now is hosting, and well, co-hosting, but he's running the show Tuesday nights with Dorian. And Dennis doesn't know that he wants to come on full-time or anything, but he said, let me give it a try, before I commit. And he's going to do this 3 to 4 part series on what's his name, Bill? What's it's on the tip of my tongue. The series they're doing. Hold on, this is driving me crazy. Let me look. Quantrill's Raiders. And if you missed Tuesday night's show, man, I'll tell you what, that was a good one. I was just going to get the show going and go jump in the shower and do some things. And I sit there and listen to the whole show. I couldn't pull away. Anyhow, so Dennis is going to do that series with him, and then, decide if he wants to do it all the time or if he just wants to be a fill-in. But if he does, the plan is for now that I'll go to Friday nights, because Bill has been telling me I need to do Friday nights. And so we'll see how that goes. And I'll let you know down the road. I'm having trouble with Facebook. I'm trying to log in and share that the show is live. Hold on. I always do that. And I cannot seem to get into my Facebook, but it's... I do not know what the problem is. Well, I guess I'm just not going to do it tonight. Okay, I'm done. Anyhow, let's just move past it. We won't post live. We're live on Facebook. Oh, well. But, okay, so tonight, and I've actually discussed this before. We haven't gone as in depth as I plan on tonight, but I'd like to talk about a little bit more. Test beds, air testing, and test boards. I think they call them nail test boards. And I want to talk about these because I'm still coming across them. I just come across a new one. And if it were up to me, I wouldn't allow those things to be put out there. I hate them, and I'll explain why. I'll go into detail tonight of why I don't believe in them, why I do not think that they should be used to compare detectors, why I don't think they should be used to review a detector, and I'm going to get into that. So let's do that. And then another thing, if we get time, and hopefully we do, I want to talk about dowsing rods and long-range detectors. And that's been a topic for me this week through an email and discussions and stuff like that. So let's get started. So before I get in too deep on this, I want to talk about what they are. So a nail test board is they're usually a plywood board. Sometimes I use cardboard and stuff like that. The most recent one I just saw was a piece of plywood with nails on it, a coin in the center, on top of a garage concrete floor. So that's a nail test board. Air testing is simply, waving a coin or an object under the coil or throwing it on top of the ground and waving it and waving your coil over it. Test bed, which has a lot more legitimacy, or people think there's more legitimate reasons you can, that it can be used to compare and test, is test beds, where you actually bury targets in the ground to check the, different depths and everything else, what depth they're at and all that kind of good stuff. And so those are the three different things I want to talk about tonight. And air testing, well, let's go test boards first. To me, there is nothing about that should be taken into account on purchasing a detector, determining how good a detector works, any of that. And I think it's the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen. I've heard people call it the famous nail board test. I'm not going to say the guy's name. I don't want to call anybody out or anything, but they John's famous nail board test. I heard that a few times now. And this is the most ridiculous thing I have ever seen, and it drives me crazy. And why it drives me crazy is, hey, so-and-so just did a nail board test on this detector and it failed miserably. Or it did so good. I don't care. It's not been in the ground 100 years. I don't care. And if you're putting any faith into that, it's absurd. I don't care. You're not going to convince me that there's any good information, good solid information that comes out of doing a nail board test. I think it's ridiculous. I haven't even looked, and I need to hunt down a couple of my newest manuals. For many years, metal detectors manuals came with a thing. I'm going to, say it like some big hillbilly here, but, it would pretty much say, don't take any, what am I trying to say here? Don't put any faith in air testing. Well, that's because metal detectors are meant to detect things in the ground. This nail test board, it's everybody, it shouldn't even have to be said, in my opinion. I don't care if you want to build one and you want to play with it in your garage, go for it. Whatever. I'm no harm, no foul. But when you're calling a one detector pretty much junk because it failed your stupid nail test board, I have an issue with it. When you're taking two detectors side by side and all your comparisons and your review and all that's done off of that test board, ridiculous. Absolutely absurd. And I'll stop there because it just makes me angry. It really does. It just makes me angry. And I get so aggravated because people reach out to me all the time about that. And I'm going to get into scenarios here real soon. But, air testing, where air testing can be used is you buy a brand new detector, read through the manual. I always suggest reading through the manual. I'll tell you, here's what I do. I skim through the manual because you're not going to learn it until you've used it. I'll put some hours on it, a few hours, maybe even as many as 8 or 10, and then I'll go through the manual. Oh, okay, yeah, I remember seeing that. Okay, I remember that and how to navigate through that. Because I'll play as I'm detecting. I'll play with the navigation and all that. I'll navigate through it and everything else. But air testing is a great thing to go out, throw a coin down on the ground, and listen to it. listen to how it acts to it, look at your VDI, and it'll give you a rough idea of the VDI. It's still not, usually the VDI is off because it's not been buried in the ground for 5, 10, 20, 50, 100 years. But it'll give you an idea, at least give you an idea of the tone. Test bed. Now, if you want to bury some stuff and you want to go out and you want to hear what they sound, what the different targets sound like, that's fine. I have no issue with that. I've got a little test bed, 3 dimes, 4 dimes now actually. I put another one at 12 inches. And here's why. I want to hear what it's going to sound like at 6, 8, 10, and 12. Most recently 12. That one's just buried. I want to hear what the detector, what it's doing. What, is my VDI still? Now, I still don't put a lot of faith in it because they've only been in the ground now a year or so, year and a half, I think. We're coming up on a year and a half. And we're going to get into that too, why that's not long enough or why I don't believe that's long enough. But another thing, if I can't hit, let's say I've got a detector and I hit the 6-inch dime and I don't hit the 8-inch, which is somewhat common, or the 10-inch for sure. A lot of detectors struggle on the 10-inch. I'll start playing with the settings and see if I can get that 10-inch dime to hit. Now, here's something really important that people need to understand. If I can't get that 10-inch dime with the detector running stable or very close to stable, I don't count it. I'm not going to run a detector so unstable that you can't make heads or tails of it anyhow, right? I mean, you can literally run some of these detectors so unstable. And unfortunately, here's another reason I don't think test beds can be legitimately used. Even though I have a couple of those dimes with trash nearby, I know where they're at. I can walk right up on them and hit those dimes, right? When's the last time you were out detecting and you knew exactly where a coin was in the ground? Never happens, right? Never. So with these test beds, these guys walk up, there's a painted spot on the ground or a bare spot, and they're like, yeah, here's an 8-inch dime. Look at how this detector handles it. Well, what's before that dime? What's around that dime? I want to see if that detector's still going to hit it. I mean, if we're going to go this route, then that needs to be done, because I've seen detectors that'll hit a dime at a foot, but it sounds like, it's madness in your ears hitting all the targets around it too, and you're a lot likely to miss that coin. So there's so much more that goes into determining a detector's worth than you can just get out of a test bed. And we're going to talk more about that. Now, before we go on, but with that, I'm going to introduce into this detector 1 and detector 2. Detector 1, this is old, and I'm not going to name the detectors. Then I'll be accused of, showing favoritism to a manufacturer, brand, or model, whatever. And I don't want to do that. So we're going to go with detector 1 and 2. Detector 2 I actually had before detector 1. I had more hours on it. Detector 1 was clearly, in every scenario, a better detector. So I'm calling it detector 1. So detector 1, excuse me, had dinner before the show. Jeez. Detector 1, I had a 6-inch dime out in my yard, put in there months before, I don't know. It hadn't been out there long. Detector 1 would not hit it. And it was almost a $1,500 detector. My heart sank, and I'm like, what the heck? Confirmed, detector 2 still hit it. It didn't sink. It didn't do anything funny. Why won't detector 1 hit it? I don't know. So instead of wrapping it up, taking it back, sending it back, I decided to take it out and use it. And it was the best decision I ever made. It's been one of my all-time favorite detectors. Within the first week, I'd found quite a few, first 2 weeks, let's say, I'd found quite a few silver coins, all of them 6-8 inches. In that 2 weeks, I hit a barber dime up against a tree that was 10 inches. No, 9 to 11 inches. Let me say that. It was deep. And it sounded like a pop can. So why is that? We're going to talk about the halo effect because that plays a very important part in this. After I had a lot of experience on detector 1 and 2, I already had a lot of experience on detector 2, but once I got a lot of experience on detector 1 was my first experience with the nail board test. And it was this guy. He was on if I remember correctly, he was on a concrete pad with my detectors 1 and 2. And he was showing you how detector 2 was a much better detector than detector 1 because of how it performed on his nail test board. And folks, I'm here to tell you all day long, detector number 1 outshined detector number 2 in every scenario, every real world scenario that I ran into. How it handled iron, how it handled masked targets by iron or even trash, depth. The detector 2 would sometimes hit that depth. It was a deep one, but your VDI, you lost your VDI and all that. Just detector number 1 was, there was really no comparing 1 and 2, but yet this guy using this nail test board is showing you why you shouldn't get detector number 1. And this is why I'm so passionate about this. So for you, there's people that are going to listen to this show and say, Mike's crazy, thumbs down, whatever. I don't care. You do it. But if you're putting faith into these things and what people are using, I'm sorry, it's not real world. It's not going to work the same as some stuff on a test board. Yeah. So that's my opinion. That was my first experience with the test boards, and I've seen it time and time again. Detectors that I love, doing really good, doing bad, and it's just like. I've seen it. I've seen it both ways. We're not just going on detector 1 and 2, but another one that did really good. I knew a lot of people who got this particular detector. Now this is a little bit older model, and I don't want to go into what it was. Most people who got it could not learn it, struggled with it. It was a very noisy detector. Okay, very, very noisy. It took a lot of experience to really learn that detector and get used to it. And it did great on his nail test board. And in real life, it would too, if you could take the time to learn it. And so many guys just couldn't. And it was too complicated for me. I liked it, but there were some things about it I didn't like. And that's what I mean. This guy praised this detectors like it's one of the best detectors ever on the nail board test and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, but there's so much more to the story. And also your stuff isn't in the ground. And it's just a horrible way to compare, to praise, to, put down detectors as far as I'm concerned. I've seen videos where people are comparing detectors and how they work from air testing, like doing reviews and come on, if it's not in the ground, it's not, you can't do it. It's not fair to the detector. It's just not fair. It's not fair to the detector. Okay, it's not, it's not fair to the people who are looking to purchase this detector. That's great. It air tested wonderful, got amazing depth, but how does it do in the ground? How does it do in the ground with a nail beside it? How does it do in the ground with a nail on top of it? How's it do in a trashy park? And you're never going to get any of that out of a air testing. So then we get to test beds. Well, things are buried, right? They are. It's still not real world. You never are going to go to a new place to metal detect and say there's a dime right over there, right? It's never going to happen. We don't know where the objects are. If we did, it'd take all the fun out of metal detecting. You're never going to recreate that because you know where the targets are in the ground. That's part of it. It's a test, right? You got to know where those are. But here's where the real problem is. The problem I have with it. The halo effect. There are people debating whether the halo effect exists or not. I don't think it should be up for debate. I 100% believe in the halo effect, and I'll get into all the reasons why I do. But for those of you who doubt, if anybody out there is listening tonight doubts the halo effect, okay? Think about this. How many times have you got a good high signal, dug a little bit, and it goes away, or you can't find it, or it's a low tone now? You just busted up the halo effect. I've kept digging and I just disturbed the ground and it went away, and I find a piece of big rusted nail or whatever in the hole, and I didn't disturb it. I did disturb the ground around it, but you broke that halo effect. And that's why iron sometimes comes through like a good target. If you're running discrimination, it's going to go away. If you're running wide open, you're going to get a low tone now. We've all done that. It's one of the things that plagues people new to the hobby. They get a good high signal. It sounds really good. They start to dig, swing over it, and it's gone. And they keep going after them because there's something there. That detector told them, well, it's gone because you disturbed the halo effect. Let's go a little bit farther on halo effect. I believe it takes decades to accomplish a proper halo effect. I lived in that house for, I believe, 8 years. And in that 8 years, detector number 1 never saw that quarter. I never saw it. At 6 inches, you could take a $300 detector over that spot and hit that quarter. Does that mean detector 1 is a bad detector? No, I found more silver coins with that detector than anything else I've ever used. Found them at depth as well. 8, 10 inches, 11, 12, maybe even 12 inches. That's a good detector in my book. And it loved silver coins. It loved silver. It loved copper coins. Here's another scenario I'm going to throw at you. So, have you ever been out detecting somewhere and there's a copper coin pre-83? I believe it was 83 when they switched to zinc clad. Before then, they were copper. Now, I want to say wheatback pennies and copper pennies up till 83 were the same composition. Okay? Bear with me here. Have you ever been out metal detecting and you find a regular penny, copper penny, 3, 4, 5 inches, 6 inches, that's copper, it's not corroded yet, it doesn't have much corrosion, and then you find a wheat penny, or, it could be, if there's been fill dirt or dirt moved around, it can happen. You find a copper penny at 6, 8 inches, and you think, wow, that came through better than that one at 4 inches or 5 inches. Halo effect, right? And the halo effect, this isn't what it is, but this is the best way I know how to describe it. Think of it as the metal leaching into the surrounding ground and making the target look bigger than it actually is. Here's another argument for the halo effect. I don't know anybody who won't say that they do better metal detecting when the ground's wet. It makes the halo effect bigger. You know, wow, my detector's super deep when it's wet, when the ground's really wet after rain. That's because of the halo effect. And that's absolutely, I believe in that. Keith Wills, him and I had a discussion about that in the last year. He's been detecting since the early 70s. He's been working on detectors since the early 80s, and he absolutely believes in the halo effect. I didn't need him to tell me that, but it's nice to have somebody like that as well strongly support the idea of the halo effect. So my point is, we could debate whether or not, or how long it takes to really accomplish a good halo effect, but I'm going to argue that any of these doing videos, these people doing videos testing and comparing detectors, do not have a good halo effect. Now let's go a little bit farther. So, you know, the idea is, let's think about this for a second. Well, if a coin is at 6 inches, let's say you got a coin at 6 inches in your test bed, and a lot of guys now are putting nails next to them, beside them, and this and that, right? And you can say, well, there's some legitimacy there. Well, you got to think that iron, even if you pulled it out of the ground somewhere else, already a rusted mess, how long is it going to take for its halo to form properly again? Right? So it doesn't have a halo. So how can we compare two detectors when you don't have the halo effect properly formed? Detector 1 is not going to perform well in that situation at all, in that scenario. Detector 2 would do great, but you add a halo effect of something that's been in the ground 50, 100 years, detector 1's going to blow it away. And we can't really say at all how any detector is going to work when you're not talking. It's like, you know, I'm trying to think of something to compare it to here. It's like trying to scientifically test something with a major factor removed from the equation that's very important. And that's exactly what is going on. And that's why, now I don't have again, please don't misunderstand me. If you have a test bed, good for you. If you want to put hours into it, each their own. I have no problem with it, but if you're doing videos comparing detectors, if you're doing videos that, you know, you're doing a review on a detector based off of how it worked in a test garden, I won't even watch them. I get them sent to me. I get people wanting to talk about it to me, and I absolutely won't. And actually, why we're having this conversation is, it just recently happened. I had a talk with a guy through Messenger, and it was paragraphs back and forth, and he said, well, so-and-so found that this coil didn't, you know, in his test bed. Well, there's your problem. Right there. You know, I'm done with the conversation unless you want to talk about your own experiences. I'm not going off of what this guy found out in his test bed. There's no longer a conversation, in my opinion, because we're going off of something with incomplete data. And that's just how I feel about it. And you know, I know I sound almost angry, and I get angry over it because people do reach out. You know, I had somebody in the last 2 months. Hey, Mike, what do you think about this detector? I love it. It's a great detector. Yeah, but so and so was doing doing air testing with it and found this out, and I didn't like that, and it's like, well, that's don't watch air testing videos. There's your problem. Yeah, it didn't perform well in this guy's test bed. Well, there's your problem. And I get it a lot, and I'm not mad at the people. Please don't misunderstand me. I'm not mad at the people who reach out to me with these questions. I'm happy to answer them and talk to them, and I don't answer rudely. I say things like, I don't put faith in test beds and air testing and stuff like that, and here's why. And but what does make me angry is that there's people out there doing that. If you're there's a lot of things that I can't answer metal detecting. I've been doing it a lot of years, and what I'm getting at is I'm no expert. But if I don't know, I don't know. And I'll tell you that, and I'll get information, or I'll find somebody who can help you. I love helping people in this hobby. I love finding out for them, even when I don't know. But I know enough that, and these people should too, that you can't put that kind of faith in a test bed, air testing, and test boards to review and to compare detectors. Plain and simple. So please, if you're looking for videos to see how a particular metal detector is works in certain scenarios, find somebody who takes them out metal detecting. I don't do it because I don't get enough time to do it. When I get out, that's my time away from everything, and I just want to go metal detecting. I struggle. I've got the equipment. I do. I've got a really nice GoPro. I've got different stands and I've got like 3 different clamping systems. To hook up, and I want to do it. I get out and I just want to metal detect though. And even though I tell myself I'm going to do it. So these people that actually go out and let you follow them around, God bless them. Good for you. Thank you for putting the hard work in and sharing that information with us. Very much appreciated. You guys doing air tests and test boards and test gardens, you're being lazy, and just stop. Just quit doing it. Just quit putting the bad information out there. That's my opinion. That's how I feel. I'm sorry if that hurts your feelings. Sorry if that bothers you, but trust me, you're gonna thank me if I stop you from saving something that one of these guys says, "Oh, look how good it does in my test bed," and you end up buying it. You're probably gonna wish you didn't. Not all the time. Don't get me wrong. Some of them perform good, but they're just good performing detectors. They're gonna get it right sometimes. They are, without a doubt. But it's not because of the test bed, or the air testing, or the test board. It's just a good detector. But there are people. I've had people also reach out to me. Mike, I bought this detector and it did so good in this test bed, and it's not doing anything. Well, that's because it was a test bed. There's some information missing there. So I'm just trying to save people from purchasing something because they saw it perform exceptionally well, or it beat out this other detector in these hokey, what I consider very hokey test methods. That's my opinion. And so I get people asking me, so well, what do I do then? Here's what I do. So I test a lot of detectors. I write reviews and stuff like that, right? You know what I do? I am 44 years old. I'm a fat, lazy guy, but I suck it up. I take it out and I dig. And I dig, and I dig, and I hate learning a new detector because I am a fat guy on my knees in the Texas heat learning that detector. And that's how you got to do it. Now, another thing you can do before you purchase it, talk to people, especially local. What are they having success with? What do they like? Talk to people who know. There's so many people out there, you got to be careful, who we all see it. Facebook group. Hey, I'm looking to get in a hobby. What detector should I get? Get this, get that. You want this one. This is the best detector you'll ever get. Nobody asked him or her, where are you from? What's your soil like? What are you metal detecting for? What's your budget? All very, very valuable pieces of information to determine what somebody wants to buy. Find somebody like me in your area that has 3 or 4 detectors. They're not brand loyal. They're not loyal to one company, who will say, well, for this price range, I would recommend this. And, if you're wanting to do this, look at this one. Somebody who's, because they're so much brand loyal. Buy this. It's the best one out there. You don't even know where he's at. You don't know what he's detecting for. And you just threw out a detector, a model that you use. I get so frustrated. I'll be the first one. I'm not a good people person. But I see all this misinformation everywhere I turn, every Facebook group, every, questions I get personally and stuff. And I wish some of it would stop. I do. Think about the question before you answer it. Where are you detecting? What's your budget? Do you have any restrictions on weight? What's your soil like? Those are so important. And if those questions aren't asked and then answered, there's no good detector to recommend. And that's just a fact. I mean, you can't tell a guy, a Garrett AT Pro is going to be the best detector when he's out in Arizona and is looking for gold nuggets. No, that's not the best detector for that. Wrong. And people just throw that out there. So my suggestion is to find people close to you that detect, that aren't going to say, buy this, you want this. You want people, what's your budget? What are you looking to do? What do you got to spend? In our ground, if you're looking to water hunt, this is what you want. If you're wanting fresh water, I think I'd lean towards this. When somebody just throws a model out at you, they're brand loyal. But if they start asking you questions and they want to know more, they probably know what they're talking about. And listen to them. Other than that, when you buy your detector, go out and use it. Dig. I don't care if you're brand new to the hobby or you've been in the hobby 50 years, you gotta go dig. You're not going to learn your detector by watching videos of them air testing and using test boards and test beds. You're not, I'm sorry, you're not going to learn it that way. You're going to have to get out and dig trash, dig iron, dig it until you know. That's another pull tab. I'm probably going to pass that up. I've dug 50 pull tabs. Oh, but hey, here's one that's a number off, a slightly different tone. This one's piqued my curiosity. I don't think this one's a pull tab. It's real close VDI. Dig it. Dig it if you don't know. And that's the best way to do it. I did a review once, and the guy said, in your test bed, can you do this in your test bed? Can you recreate this or something like that? And I was kind of dumbfounded by it. And I said, I don't have a test bed. This is going out and using the detector. So many people are relying on, I'm sorry, I clicked on chat, and Mark said, get a White's, best customer service. Bill said, and the best lifetime warranty. Yeah, they are out of business, everybody. From what I'm hearing, they are shut down completely now. So that's funny. Yeah, just like Tesoro, right? Good old Tesoro's gone. But that's what I wanted to talk about tonight. The main thing, just don't put a lot of faith in it. I'm gonna step down off of my box now and move on to something else. So something else I want to briefly talk about, because it's come up this week. And we'll do a more in-depth show down the road. I think it's in the works on dowsing rods. And I want to tell a funny story. Years ago, my grandfather went out metal detecting with me. He was interested to see what I find. He was kind of interested, not in the hobby so much as my interest in it. And we're driving back home and to his house, and yeah, Bill said, I'm too big for a soap box. I need a soap crate. You're not kidding there. Reinforced soap crate. And my grandfather asked me if I ever used dowsing rods, and I kind of laughed at him, and I said, those things that's hokey. That's not real. And he said, there's something to them. My grandfather was a builder all of his life, and he said the best well digger in Dayton, Ohio, used dowsing rods to find his wells. He said that's the only equipment he ever used to find water. And I thought, wow, okay. Well, since that was many, many years back, and since then I've talked to a lot of people and who've used dowsing rods, and I'll tell you, I don't get it, I don't understand it, but I do think that there could be something behind it. Gypsy has used them. She has some experience with them, and I think we're going to do a podcast on that pretty soon. But I think I'm going to order me a set of dowsing rods and give them a try, play around a little bit and see myself. But I do think there's something to it. Gypsy has some really neat stories that I found pretty fascinating. And then I got an email about a long-range detector. And from the podcast, from talking to people, I did a little research on it before I answered this guy because I wanted to make sure, I didn't believe in oh geez, now my mind's just, it was a rough day. Dowsing rods, and I was proving a little, at least made me open-minded on it. And so I did a little research, but long-range detectors I think are just hokey. I reached out to some people this week that have a lot more knowledge on that kind of stuff and experience, and nobody even knows of anybody who's ever had any luck with them, yet they know people that have them. So, so I would stay away from the long-range detectors. I do think they're hokey, and the people that I talk to who are more knowledgeable on the subject than I agreed with me completely. Even gave me experience, personal insight they had and stuff. So, yeah, Mark said there's places that sell them for like 10K. They're total crap. That's everything I've heard. So I would stay away. Steve said the Spanish brought dowsing to the New World. Gypsy has some fascinating stories on that, and I'm hoping we do an episode on that pretty soon. So we'll see what happens, but yeah. Bill says solar calculator glued to a box with an antenna on them, 10K nuts. Yeah, I think some people will fall for anything trying to. I don't know. I can't say that none of them work. I can't say they're all hokey, but that's everything I'm getting back from people with a lot more knowledge and experience to me. That's the overall. That's not the overall. That's the census. Plain and simple. Wow, that's crazy, Bill. Bill's saying that's a solar calculator glued to a box with an antenna on them, 10K. Wow. I got to look that up. He's saying the name. I don't want to, or you say it, the last thing I need is somebody, from the company to, hey, you said this and all that. That's just what I need. But yeah, that is crazy. Yikes. Yeah, some of the long range detectors are as you can imagine, like here it says, can detect metals and gems from inches up to miles away. Yeah, what are you going to do if you got minerals and, you got minerals and gold or silver all nearby? Yeah, that thing's going to go from miles. Are you kidding me? How many miles? How far are you going to follow it? So I don't know. But I think we're going to go ahead and end the show. I'll tell you, I feel a little sick tonight. It's really hot here in Texas. It's hot in the room that I'm in. I've got to shut the door. Air doesn't flow as good, and I'm spent. So I'm going to check that link out, Bill. Don't forget, if you're interested, check out allmetalmode.com for articles and stuff. I have a couple new articles in the works there. Dirt Digest. Geez, I forgot. Dirt Digest, we just finished that up earlier this week. Wednesday, the new issue. Talked to Gypsy about the Apex, and real good article, so check it out. Mark said, it'll find whatever you want. Just think gold and it'll find gold. Yikes. Okay. And so anyhow, we're going to wrap it up. Check out that. Check out allmetalmode.com. Click on forum if you want to join and participate. Started a new forum. I think that's everything. I'm sure I'll forget something when I get off of here, but I'm going to wrap it up. I'm sitting here sweating, feel like I'm getting sick and all that. So we're going to wrap it up, but I hope you all enjoyed the show. Hope you got something from it. Monday night, I'm not sure who will be on with the ladies. Tuesday night, Dorian and Dennis will be doing part 2 of whatever it is. I'm too out of it to think now. Why does that keep escaping me, Bill? Quantrill's Raiders. And if you didn't hear the first episode last week, you're going to want to tune in. So go check that out. Thank you all for tuning in, and I hope you enjoyed the show, and good night, and have a good, safe weekend.